Hello, and welcome to the We Only Sing When We're Winning podcast. I think this is our 9th edition. Is that what we are on now?
I think so, which shows just how quickly time's going.
And I'm Josh Hockley still. I'm delighted to be joined by the man who can only be described as the Arrow Murich to my Breeze Samba. It's Martin Gray.
You wish.
We've got Mr. Boing Boing himself, Charlie Marriott.
Minasan konbanwa.
And we have a man who describes himself as being far from teetotal. He's our party animal, Gareth Hardman.
All right, lads.
Be the day.
Charlie did his greeting in Japanese. I thought I'd give a bit of northern speak.
You're not going with the Italian to go with the new shirt.
Let's not go there.
How are you doing, lads?
Yeah, no. All right.
Football is back.
Yes, the football is back. All our teams, I think, are back in action this weekend. My team have just been on first, and I wanted to sort of start off our podcast today by giving you a little quiz about the League Two playoffs. So, just shout out the answers. But we've got 4 teams in the League Two playoffs. We've got Colchester City, Exeter City, Northampton Town, and Cheltenham Town. I've got 4 questions for you. The answer to each question is one of these clubs.
Do I get a point for pointing out that it's actually Colchester United and not Colchester City?
You are correct. It's Colchester United.
But no point.
Nobody likes to smart us, Charlie.
Minus points.
I'm now on -10.
This is Josh's episode. You cannot question him today.
Yeah.
Well, you can if you like. Won't do you any good. But okay, so with the quiz, which team, since the new Wembley was built, which of these teams has played in 4 playoff finals there?
Colchester City. Sorry.
It's not Colchester City, and it's not Colchester United either.
Is it Exeter?
It is Exeter.
Yeah.
How many have they won?
1.
1, yeah. Great record.
Yeah, well, it's played
How many
4,
times have
1,
Everton been to the new Wembley, Gareth?
Hang on a minute. Is it 3 times? 4 times. 4 times as well. So
How many did you win?
1. It's the same record.
Same record, nice.
The FA Cup semi-final 2009 on penalties against United. That has to be the only win.
Okay. Which of these teams is supported by American sporting legend Shaquille O'Neal?
Northampton.
Sorry?
Northampton, I know that one.
Yeah, that's right.
He's finally got off minus points.
Who is this guy? Can someone tell?
Shaquille O'Neal is a basketball player.
Okay.
He's about 8 foot tall.
He's known as Big Shaq.
And apparently he has he's in business with the Northampton owner, hence why he's paid to have a cardboard cutout of himself at the Northampton playoff match.
Fantastic.
Have you not done that, Josh?
I was thinking about it. I haven't in the end. I certainly haven't at the Northampton match.
Very good.
Okay, which of these teams beat Torquay in the Division 3 1998 playoff final?
Cheltenham Town.
Cheltenham Town.
It's not Cheltenham Town.
Oh.
Colchester United.
Yes, it was indeed Colchester City / United.
Was it Colchester Rovers?
Colchester Rovers, yeah.
There we go.
Colchester Wanderers, or no?
And last but not least, which of
Is
these...
it Cheltenham?
I'm going to give you the question because I enjoyed writing this one. Which of these teams beat Doncaster Rovers 2-1 on the last day of the 07-08 season to win Nottingham Forest promotion back to the Championship?
Stop. Was it Cheltenham Town?
You're doing well.
You see, this is why Josh quite publicly has been getting annoyed at the lack of lockdown restrictions, but we can see why now, because he's getting enjoyment out of writing a question.
Or he knows that the only thing I've been doing in lockdown is sat nose deep in football trivia books. That's why he wants the lockdown to end, so I go and find something else to do.
Yes, but even before this lockdown, you were nose down in football trivia books.
I think you've been enjoying writing a quiz too, Gareth, and we'll come to that later. But
Oh,
you,
God, yeah, we will.
you used to have a soft spot for Cheltenham, didn't you? Or am I?
I did. When I was younger, I used to go to a music festival every year in Cheltenham. And so naturally, when Martin persuaded me to buy Football Manager, I wanted to take a team from League Two up. And they were, the team that I was drawn to. I managed to get them to the top of League One, and then it all went downhill. So, wasn't bad. But yeah, there was a little bit of a soft spot. Forest Green have kind of overtaken them in terms of my Gloucestershire club.
Yeah. So we've just had the first match of the League Two playoffs. Colchester have beaten Exeter by 1-0. I've just watched that match. Is there anything that you guys would like to discuss about it?
I mean this in a serious question, and this is something that Martin can then kind of go into. Was it worth your time? Like it being an empty ground, you're forced to watch it on TV. And obviously, we've been doing a lot of that recently. But now that English football is back and it's a team that you've got much more of a vested interest in, was it worth your time to watch it?
It wasn't a particularly enjoyable 90 minutes. For a start, it wasn't a good game of football. I think both Colchester and Exeter have some good footballers that are capable of being creative, and we didn't see the best of many of them today. I'd also say that obviously being an Exeter fan, we lost, so I can't say I enjoyed watching it, but I'm a fan. My team are in the playoffs. Of course, I'm going to.
Did they have the sound over?
No, they didn't, and they had to apologise several times for the players' language.
Wow. What do you guys make of that? Simulating the fans.
It's absolutely dreadful.
It is dreadful.
It is so bad.
The ball goes out of play. 5 seconds later.
I mean, to be fair, that's just a standard Goodison reaction.
Just accept that there are no fans in there. Just imagine that it's Wigan playing every week, and just accept it and move on with it. None of this gimmick rubbish.
What I found amusing was they had the fan cam, didn't they? And they had live stream of all the home fans. And for Villas, to be fair, it was always full. But there's a great screen grab on Twitter of City, and they had 3 of them empty. And they say even when it's on a fan camera, City still can't fill their ground. Yeah. I mean, open goals, you still have to score them.
Yeah, it's just like I can see why they've done it, but it just isn't. It adds nothing to me, and I can't help but wonder the amount of money they've spent on all of these gimmicks. That money could probably be invested better somewhere else, such as turning the goal line technology on at the Sheffield United match.
I mean, I certainly didn't miss not having it at the Exeter game. I think probably the least said about that, the better. It wasn't a good game. Although I will say that you should watch the Cohen Bramall goal, because that was the one moment of quality in the game. And the commentators tried to blame the ex-goalkeeper, Lewis Ward, but I think it's a fantastic free kick.
That'll get checked out.
Fair play. Yeah.
So that's Exeter covered. We've obviously got all our other teams as well. I'll come to you, Gareth, because
yeah, please don't.
Because Everton, you're not in a relegation battle anymore
yet,
but you don't have any hope of top 4. So, is there any point watching Everton except for Liverpool to win the title in the Merseyside derby?
Well, they can't win the title in the Merseyside derby now because City beat Arsenal last night, which was a fantastic result. Thank you, Manchester City. You've finally done something good this season.
I think thank you, David Luiz.
Thank you, Sideshow Bob, yeah.
Funnily enough, I was just watching The Simpsons over here. It was a Sideshow Bob episode. How weird is that?
That legendary skit of Sideshow Bob getting the rake in the face about 20 times. That is exactly how David Luiz played for 25 minutes last night.
That's how David Luiz played for 25 years, mate. Well, Everton, okay, fair enough. I'll answer the question. There is a reason to watch them, and that's simply because I can. We're one of the teams who have been chosen to be on one of the 4 matches on BBC, so that's fantastic for someone who doesn't have a Sky Sports or a BT Sports subscription. The Merseyside derby on Sunday, annoyingly, is actually on a channel that I can watch, so I will be watching. And yeah, I think I saw another one that's on Pick, so we've got, of the 9 matches left, at least 3 that I'll be able to watch, hopefully a few more. From that point of view, it'll be great to actually sit down and watch them. Am I excited for it? That's a different question. No, I'm not. I was really happy to have this season over and done with. I was really happy just to move on to the next one. It's not all because Liverpool are going to win the league. That's just a minor point of it. I think Everton have actually had a really bad season. And I think we're going to look back at this with a lot of failed potential. You look at Arsenal and they're struggling down in 9th, and Arsenal have had a really bad season and we're still below them. We are as good as Sheffield United. On our day, we're as good as Wolves. We should be challenging these guys for 5th and 6th. We just can't. And especially because City might get banned from Europe and 5th would have been the Champions League. This season, it's one to forget as far as I'm concerned. And
moving on to Charlie, West Brom have got a good chance of getting promotion, but does it matter to you whether or not you beat Leeds to the title, or do you just say a promotion's a promotion?
To me, a promotion's a promotion. I know there will be those that will want the league, especially with how we've been in the top 2 for most of the season, and there was quite a gap to Leeds at one point. I'm not entirely worried, partly because we've got a decent run in, so the promotion looks likely. Plus, it's Leeds; they will bottle it. So it's almost it's kind of between us and Fulham as to who beats Leeds to the top. I've just looked at the run in actually, and
what game should we be looking forward to?
It looks doable. So starter time to Birmingham, and then away at Brentford, away at Sheffield Wednesday, home to Hull and Derby, then away at Blackburn, home to Fulham, away at Huddersfield, and home to QPR to finish it. So
Brentford and Fulham look the key matches in there.
Yeah, I mean, home against Birmingham and Hull, that should be 2 winnable games. And Derby and QPR are just sort of there or thereabouts. So, taking draws there would be fine. Blackburn and Huddersfield are always going to be banana skins, especially away from home. So I think there's enough about that run-in to kind of see us over that, especially because as well there's a 6-point advantage. 6-point advantage over Fulham and a plus 13 goal difference compared to Fulham. So, and only a point off Leeds. It comes back to, and I was saying this much earlier in the season, the fact that Albion have drawn 13 games this season, and I have to go down to Millwall in 8th before there's a team that's drawn more than that. So, it's going to be, if anything does Albion in this season, it'll be just a stupid amount of draws.
You could look at that in a different way, though. You could say actually it's the draws that are going to see them go up, because, Fulham have lost a lot more games than Albion.
Yeah, you say that. Albion have actually only lost 5 all season, which is the lowest in the division by a considerable margin. Leeds have lost 8 and Fulham have lost 9. You can tell I've got the league table in front of me. But yeah, so it's been, up until everything stops, it was a pretty routine. We'll see in the Premier League next season. I hope Villa get relegated. But yeah, there are so many variables now, but I hope that there's enough momentum, there's enough ability and cohesion already built up that should see us over the line. Interestingly, Albion played Man United in a couple of training matches last week and actually won one of them, which was allegedly against Man United's first team. Read into that what you will, but there's every reason to be optimistic with that.
Except for that the FA are now actively trying to keep Villa up.
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting next season because Coventry have been promoted into the Championship as well. So I almost want Albion to be promoted because I don't want to have to watch West Brom versus Coventry because I don't know who to cheer for. And similarly, like with my Coventry hat on, I want Villa to stay up. In fact, no, I want Villa to come down because Coventry haven't played Villa for 20 years and that will be a sellout wherever it's played.
I do think that we need to mention the incident that you just referred to in the Aston Villa Sheffield United game, where for anyone who I'm sure everyone has seen it by now, but where the ball clearly crosses the line for a goal for Sheffield United, the referee's watch doesn't buzz, and it isn't given. And it feels like yet again we're having a debate about technology in football. So where do we stand on it?
It's not really a debate anymore. The technology, the goal line technology, was the most reliable technology we'd come up with, and yet somehow in England we're still managing to find ways to mess it up. I don't get it. Like, I don't get how we have a football association that are this incompetent. This Premier Project Restart has been talked about for months now, and on the first day, they forget to turn the technology on.
It's also worth making the point that, I mean, I've been watching the Bundesliga for several weeks, or like controversies over VAR and technology just don't happen over there. It's just, I mean, I can't say I'm a fan of it in any circumstance, but they kind of know how to work it, whereas the Premier League just doesn't.
Absolutely. The thing is, the 2018 World Cup in Russia was the first major tournament where VAR was used. And besides the start, where there were a couple of dodgy decisions and it taken too long, it actually worked really well. And it added a genuinely exciting dynamic to the game. The fact is, I was quite excited to see it implemented in Britain, but we waited a season after that. And we had a season where we trialled it in a few FA Cup games. And then all of a sudden it came in, and it's been a farce. It's been an absolute farce. And you do wonder that if we can get it right, if FIFA can get it right at the World Cup, which is a much bigger stage than the Premier League, despite what the FA want you to believe, then there's no reason why we can't get it right here.
I think the major problem that we've had with technology is referees and linesmen have started relying on the technology rather than just using their eyes. If that goal last night happened 5 years ago before we had this technology, the referee gives the goal. It is that simple. It was behind the post. Everyone can see it.
Yeah, Roy Carroll wants a word with that. But
Manuel Neuer doesn't.
Yeah, Manuel Neuer doesn't.
The thing is, the Villa goalkeeper was behind the line with his head down. He
I know.
knew it had gone over the line.
He had the ball. You could see the ball was pushed against the net. It's ridiculous. But Josh made a point in our group chat yesterday that if the referee gives that and overrides the technology, that sets a precedent which is not somewhere you want to go down.
Yeah, because we were chatting about this on our Facebook thread, and I was very much of the view that I don't think you can criticise Michael Oliver for what he's done, because his job as the referee, he's been told to listen to the technology. So if the technology tells him it's no goal and he gives it as a goal and he's wrong, like that he's probably sacked. So there's no way he's going to do that.
Can I just
go for it, mate.
Sorry, it's just, and I'm not fully up on it because as soon as I saw it was 0-0, I wasn't interested in watching the highlights. But so was it the ball technology that was switched off, or VAR, or both?
It was the
watch
technology.
Yeah, the ball technology.
So why, if there's this dispute, and I think this kind of goes slightly against what Josh has just said there, because what it should be, as far as I've interpreted it at least, is that the referee is still in charge and the referee's word goes, unless there's a man in his ear that says you have made a clear and obvious error there. So if Oliver doesn't give the goal because his watch hasn't buzzed, then surely VAR should be getting his ear and say, hang on, you've missed a trick there, because the TV cameras have just picked that up so obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. You're not wrong.
Exactly. So VAR should have got involved there.
Do we have an answer for why? Do we have an answer for why that didn't happen?
I don't know. I haven't looked. But...
However, it didn't, because Michael Oliver was just looking at his watch and pointing at his watch and just saying no goal to all the Sheffield United.
Well, then that's the fault of the person on the other end of the TV camera. That's
absolutely
not.
It is.
The referee has done his job. The referee, Oliver's done exactly what he should have done there. It's the technology that's
God,
coming.
We're gonna get a reputation as the only podcast on the airwaves to actually defend referees, aren't we?
I'm wearing a referee shirt next week.
That's just like.
Okay, because I mean, Charlie said that his point goes against mine. I actually don't think that he did. I think you back my point up, because I agree fully with what you said. I think if you're going to have VAR, that's exactly what it's for. They should be in the referee's ear saying there is a mistake here. You need to overrule your decision. Yeah. However, that's obviously not the way it currently works. And as things stand, he's told to go by his watch. that's what he's done, and it's the watch that has made them let him down.
There's a classic example here. Let's go to cricket, right? Let's look at cricket, okay? And there's an example in cricket which I want to talk about, which is known as the soft signal. So if there's a potentially contentious catch taken on a cricket field, the umpires get together and they give a signal to the video referee that says whether they think it's out or not out. And that's the soft signal. And if there's no clear or obvious evidence in the replays to prove that soft signal wrong, that's what the decision stands at. Yeah. That's a perfectly reasonable example of what should happen here. Oliver should give a good decision about whether he thinks it's a goal or not. They review the video evidence, and if there's no clear evidence to overrule what Oliver says, you go with what he thought.
Yep, I would agree with that, although in this case, there was clear evidence.
There is, but this is less about this case and more about what to do when this happens in the future, inevitably.
The problem is we got what we wished for, and we should always be careful of that. We wanted the technology for so long, and because there was so much clamouring and so much shouting for it, like you say, the referees are now under so much pressure to actually use it that they've swung too far the other way. So now they're relying on it when they shouldn't be, or like they're relying on it more than they should be. So you should be able to make a fair decision as a human being as to whether you think from your position that ball has crossed the line or not, and then rely on the technology if that technology tells you you are wrong. Not making a decision and then waiting, basically like waiting until you're proven wrong. It's
I feel like
if you're proven wrong, it's not being used correct.
The three of us are of one mind, I think, but I'll bring Martin in here because you were being more critical of Michael Oliver last night. So do you want to put that forward?
Problem is, I see it from the way that Charlie just put it. The referees are now too reliant on technology. Yes, it's their job. They're told you need to listen to the technology. But when it was so blatant, and not one of his team could spot that and say, no, you really should. Even if a VAR is not coming to you and saying that's a goal, why did he not just say to VAR, is that a goal?
Yeah.
I mean, I completely agree with you, Martin, but I think the issue is it's not Michael Oliver I think you want to take issue with. It's with the people who are above him that are telling the referees how to use the technology.
Yeah.
And it's also the culture in football, because at the end of the day, when that happened, if you watch the aftermath, it's not a goal, so the goalkeeper's got it, the ball's still in play. So he just throws it out and Aston Villa get on the attack.
Yeah. So Aston Villa and they've not got an attack, so it's all right.
The point is, there's not a natural stopping point. Like if you've got a contentious try, say in rugby, you've got a natural stopping point for the referee to actually say, yeah, look, let's take a minute. Let's review the evidence.
But the thing is as well, the referee's in charge of the game.
I know.
So if they go for the throw, he should be able to put his hand up and say, hang on a minute, no, we're stopping this. And at worst, then he gives a drop ball and it goes back to the Villa goalkeeper. And
our referees have no spine.
Well, I'm always very reluctant to criticise referees, mainly because I see it at non-league and they have to put up with. But you're right, they need to remember that they are the ones in charge here, not the players, not the fans, not the TV company.
And no offence to Aston Villa and Sheffield United, but if that's happening and they're not having the guts to actually take control of Aston Villa, Sheffield United, how are they going to cope in, say, Liverpool, Man United, or in the big derbies, the big matches that happen, where the atmosphere, even without fans, is still intense?
I'll tell you one thing, there'll be a massive irony now if Villa stay up by 1 point when they were one of the bottom 6 teams that voted against using neutral grounds because it threatened the integrity of the game. That's all I'll say on that one.
You're looking at Sheffield United trying to file a lawsuit against West Ham if that happens.
Oh, yeah.
It's that situation.
It's almost like it's happened before, hasn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's possibly straying off a bit where we want to get to. I kind of want to bring it back again to Martin, because for Forest, it's going to be an interesting season, isn't it? Because top two's unlikely, but there's a strong chance of playoffs. And for me, looking at this Forest team, in more than 20 years of following Forest, I've never been so confident in a Forest team to do well in the playoffs, because I think no matter who they're drawn against, whether it's Fulham, Brentford, Preston, whoever, I would back this Forest team to go away from home and get a result.
Well, it's funny you should say that. I'm a lot more confident now football doesn't have fans, actually. I had a look at the table yesterday, and on home form, Forest are 12th, away form, Forest are 3rd. So it is the away form that is keeping them in the playoffs at the minute. I'm not going to speculate. I don't want to be unpopular amongst the Forest fans as to why they are so dreadful at home. But I think the home record will now pick up without the fans being there as well. So I think they can guarantee a place in the playoffs. And then it's just a complete lottery. The teams who are going to be in there, Preston, I don't think will have enough. But if it is Fulham, Brentford and Forest, I could not pick one of those 3 teams who is going to actually get promoted.
Who do you think the 4th team might be then?
The 4th, I mean, if Preston are in there, I would expect the other 3 teams to have enough quality. I wouldn't look past Millwall. I really wouldn't.
I've got to be honest. Before this all happened, the team I was getting quite nervous about was Derby County. They seem to have really picked up under Koku.
Yeah, I still don't think they would have enough to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, like you say, it's just such a lottery now. I mean, mathematically, most of that league can still got, and you know, you've Preston on 56, and you've got Sheffield Wednesday on 48. They could reasonably do something. Stoke probably on 42 are definitely out of it now, but anyone in that sort of 10 positions below, Swansea could come out of nowhere and they're in 11th on 53.
Because Swansea were around the top 6 for a long time. Then they dropped back a bit. But I think that's the beauty of the Championship. There really are. It's so close, sort of between so many teams, and potentially there's a lot of teams that could get that final playoff spot, and it might not even just be one spot. If Forest or Brentford or whoever have a bad run, then there could be more up for grabs.
Or Leeds.
Or Leeds. That would be so funny now.
That would be monumental.
That would be brilliant. That would be peak Leeds.
To be fair, we can criticise Leeds for all we want, but actually, when a decision went in their favour last year, against Aston Villa, incidentally, they let Villa put the ball in the net. Did Villa do that last night?
Yeah, because like...
Well, we all know we hate Villa on this podcast.
I mean, I hate Leeds as well, but for Bielsa to do that last year was pretty amazing, to be honest.
So that's how we think all 4 of our teams are going to do this season. I'm looking forward to following this over the next few weeks. But I also want to talk a bit about the articles that we've had on the blog this week. And I kind of want to come to you, Gareth. So I think we could have a good discussion about this. You posted an article ranking the different international tournaments we had.
Yeah, hang on, I've got to get this up again, haven't I? I've got to remember where I put everything. Yes, I did. So, I mean, again, partly inspired by Charlie, like I was by Martin a few weeks ago. Charlie said the 2002 World Cup was his first proper memory, and to be honest, it pretty much was mine as well. I think I watched Euro 2000, but I couldn't tell you anything about it. So I thought 2002, 04, 06, 08, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, we've had some really good tournaments in that run, like some really memorable tournaments with some controversial moments, some brilliant play, some brilliant games. So I thought, well, yeah, no, let's give this a bit of a rank, see where I put everything. I surprised myself, but I always knew going into it that Euro 2004 was going to be the best. I always knew that. I have such love for Euro 2004. And mainly because Greece won it, and I will be honest about that. That was such a shock to the entire system. It was beautiful. I remember going to school one day and being like, oh, yeah, it's Greece-Portugal final. And they were all like, but they're not as good as Netherlands, Czech Republic. It's like, no, it's fantastic. Greece are in a major final. And then they won it. It was fun. It was amazing. But the other day, BBC had England...
Oh, we've lost it.
Side that England played. It's insane.
Hang on, we lost you there for a second. We got as far as England.
Oh, my internet connection is unstable, apparently. That's good. I said England-Croatia was on the TV the other day on BBC, and our side that year was unbelievably good. And yet I watched it for half an hour, and we were so bad. So I thought, I don't know what you guys think of those tournaments.
It was a very good tournament. some good teams. That group of death in there as well was absolutely hideous. And then, you know, I'm a fan of an underdog, and that was Latvia's only real appearance at a major tournament.
Yes,
And I just like that.
I was going to mention Latvia, but I was getting too carried away with Greece. So.
When they were managed by Gary Johnson.
They were at one point. I don't think it was. I think he managed them in about 2000. You're right, though. He was there for a time. It's one of those strange little ones.
I mean, for me, thinking about it, the 3 tournaments that I would say stand out, and I think they were the similar ones to Gareth, were 2018, 2004, and 2002. And I don't think it's a coincidence that those are the 3 tournaments where England looked like being a decent side.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, fair enough. I put 2002 quite low in the end, but I think there is a lot that we like tournaments where England do well. 2018 is going to be remembered as fondly as 96, as fondly as 90 in this country because of that was so unexpected. And 02, you know, we were well, it wasn't really a fluke, but we were an unusual goal away from getting a result against Brazil.
It was a golden generation team, that one. So that's one too. I mean, there were a few unusual names in that starting 11, but by and large, that was the best team England had. Certainly better than 98.
Yes.
On balance, it was probably better than 2006 as well.
I mean, the thing about the 04 team is that the names in that team, every single one of that 11 that played against Croatia are now household names, but not just for football. Like, these are guys that pretty much everyone can name. You've got David James, Gary Neville, John Terry, Sol Campbell, Ashley Cole, David Beckham, Frank Lampard, Steven Gerrard, Paul Scholes, Wayne Rooney, and Michael Owen. That is an insanely good starting 11.
And it seemed to work, didn't it? And that was the one tournament that we got the best out of Rooney.
Yeah, it was. It absolutely was. It's the one tournament where he was actually given a striker alongside him who... Owen wasn't a selfish player. No, and I think that's the problem. Yeah, I think that especially at that stage in his career, and he let Rooney play. I don't like praising Michael Owen because I don't rate him
at this point, or
I don't know. I'll be honest, I don't know.
I think he was about to go to Real Madrid at that point.
Yeah, it was 04-05, wasn't it? He made the move there. Had a season. It might have been 04-05 he was at Madrid. Then he went because he was at Newcastle for when the 2006 World Cup was happening.
So the thing is, what I watched I only watched half an hour of it in the end, but Rooney was dropping very deep and was kind of occupying space where you'd usually have Gerrard or Lampard, and they were even further back. And Paul Scholes was kind of floating between the left wing and Rooney. So Owen was always up front on his own. Rooney and Scholes were kind of behind them. And then you had like a very weird 3 where Beckham was on the right and then Lampard and Gerrard in the middle. And for some reason, that did seem to work. I think it gave Rooney the freedom. I think later in his England career, Rooney played as the sole striker. And that never fitted Wayne Rooney. You know, he was always better when he was actually off the striker.
Well, especially now in his later career. Like for DC especially, he would just kind of...
Derby County?
Not that one, the one before that. He would hold back, and he wouldn't be... He'd be the focal point, but he would be further back. And it's kind of had the same, like how Beckham did when he got towards his later career. He gradually dropped a bit further and further back, and basically was just happy to sit there pinging balls left and right.
I don't like saying it, but Rooney has taken that Derby County side to like improve them significantly by playing as a midfielder. And I haven't been watching the games, but I'm not surprised. I can see why, because he's got so much technical ability. Even if the legs aren't there, he can still control the game.
I have a lot of time for Wayne Rooney. It's not just his Everton roots. I honestly think Wayne Rooney's a very impressive footballer, and he's turning into a very impressive man as well. So anyway, maybe it's the Everton roots.
So Gareth, we had that article from you. We also did a joint one this week that I want to briefly mention and tell people to have a look at it, because the 4 of us each talked a bit about our favourite Spanish teams. So I thought that was a good article. And Martin, have you been watching any La Liga?
Yeah, well, not as much as the Bundesliga, just because La Liga has been a complete snooze fest as far as I'm concerned. Either you've got the big teams running away with games, or you have completely dreadful games where there are hardly any chances at all. Um,
Like the Premier League.
what it seems in La Liga is that the defences are actually pretty good, pretty solid, but the attacks are quite lacking. So it does make for a much more boring game. I mean, I watched Valencia against Levante, and I'll tune in tonight as well for the Real Madrid game against Valencia, but I won't start watching it as religiously as I have been with the Bundesliga, I don't think.
Because, I mean, I get the feeling that the standard is probably maybe a little bit higher in La Liga than the Bundesliga. Like of some of the, even like the mid-table La Liga teams I've been watching, like Bilbao, Levante, Eibar, have got a lot of quality, but it's just not as watchable, I don't think. The defences are very much on top.
Yeah.
Spanish football is generally less watchable than German football. We all know I hate Spanish football, so, you know.
Yeah. You mentioned it, didn't you, in the article?
I've mentioned it a few times this week, but in general, it's true. German football, for whatever reason, is more watchable.
I would, though, like to mention that whilst people were watching that awful game between Aston Villa and Sheffield United, I was watching a Basque derby between Bilbao and Eibar, and that was incredibly watchable. It was a proper derby, and I mean, it had Raul Garcia, who is just the ultimate shithouse. He is the man you want on your side in a derby match, and it was full-blooded.
We'll try and get him on loan for Sunday then.
That's Josh's next squad builder, the shithouse 11.
Funnily enough, no, I'm joking.
I mean, that is quite a nice lead into the squad builder. I set you guys a challenge this week. I asked you to pick the best 11 of players that you've seen live, but you could only pick one player from each match, and you had to pick a player from the first match you'd been to and the last match you'd been to. Gareth, you were giving it a bit of talk about how we were going to love your team, so I want you to start.
First of all, I have taken your instructions. I know you gave me a bit more freedom because Everton season ticket holder, basically that's my experience. But I have stuck to your rules, right? Okay, I have absolutely stuck to your rules. The one thing is here, I've changed it slightly. This isn't my best 11. It's kind of my worst 11, but I'll explain what I mean in a minute. Okay. What I did was I wrote down the most painful matches I can remember as an Everton fan. So I wrote down all of the matches where we lost horrendously or last minute or whatever, and I decided to pick the best players on that day.
Okay.
So it doesn't look like, or memorable players on that day. So it doesn't look like a great 11. And I have picked one for my first game, one for my last game. And I've got one exception as well to that. So there is one exception. So we're going to start with a match that was most famous in my mind for 3 reasons. First of all, it was very windy that day. Very windy. Second of all, it's the only match that I can think of where I've only been to a football match with my sister. Me and Imogen never go to football matches together, so that was weird. And thirdly, it was the only match in which I've seen a goalkeeper score. Because Tim Howard looped the ball over the goalkeeper who is my Everton opponent 11, Adam Bogdan, who was sat there behind in the Goodison lights, ginger hair, you know, glistening, pink shirt, looking horrendous with that particular outfit. And he had the unfortunate nature of watching a ball fly over him. You'd think this would be a good match for me, but we actually lost 2-1 to Bolton that day. One of the most embarrassing results that I can remember, including when Ngog scored the winner. So Bogdan, because he was there that day, he's my goalkeeper. Great start, right? Adam Bogdan. No one's mentioned him before. A right back, I have Glenn Johnson, one of my least favourite players of all time. I cannot stand Glenn Johnson, but he was at right back when we lost 2-1 to Liverpool in the FA Cup semi-final, where I was at Wembley. So Glenn Johnson will move on. My exception is my captain, Thiago Silva. Now, I saw Brazil, South Korea in the Olympics semi-final in 2012. South Korea never stood a chance. Brazil won 3-0. They were fantastic that day. I don't know. I haven't looked the stats up, but I certainly can't remember them having a shot on target. And Thiago Silva was fantastic. And we got linked with him this week. So I thought, you know what? Let's stick him in there. Let's have Thiago Silva there. My other centre-back is Lamina Kone. Because I once went away to watch Everton-Sunderland, and it was Martinez's last game. We lost 3-0. Sunderland stayed up that day. Sam Allardyce started basically ripping his shirt off.
That was my wedding, wasn't it?
Was that the week of your wedding?
I can remember the night before my wedding being on the phone to you, and you were talking about that match.
Well, there you go. It probably was then. I know I came back from Sunderland at like 4 a.m, I think, and was at uni the next day. It was mad. It was, and we'd lost 3-0. So Lamina Kone, he was fantastic that day. He scored a free kick, if I remember rightly. So he goes in there. So my left back is someone from my first game, Michael Ball, more famous for being a singer than a footballer. I don't know if anyone remembers Michael Ball. Or is that a really
one cap for England? Didn't it?
One cap for England. Started his career at Everton. My first ever game, which we mentioned last week, was against Southampton. He was the left back that day. I had a poster of him in my room, which is a very weird one to have a poster of. So Michael Ball gets in at left back. This is the worst centre-back pairing of all time. I've got Lee Cattermole as my first centre-back. You mentioned a shithouse 11. Lee Cattermole, I present to you. I've seen Everton lose to Sunderland more times than I care to admit, and the one consistent player across all of that is always Lee Cattermole. So he is like Everton's nemesis almost in the centre of midfield. So he had to be there. Alongside Mile Jedinak, who probably is a much better player than Lee Cattermole. But
you have gone for a shithouse 11.
I have done. The Jedinak's in there because when we had a first season under Martinez, we were looking good for Europe. We were chasing down Arsenal in fourth. We were 1 point behind them, and we had Crystal Palace at home. And you think we'd blown everyone away at home all season, and then we lost to Crystal Palace. It was the most Everton thing ever, and Jedinak was good that day. Jedinak always seems to be good against us.
Can I make a point of order here?
Go on.
That Cattermole and Jedinak, as far as I know anyway, are kind of natural defensive midfielders. And if you played Ball and Johnson at wing-back, which you could conceivably do, Gareth has put a team together that actually doesn't have a defence. It starts in defensive midfield.
What Silva and Kone?
Fine.
All right, I'm going to move on because my attack is amazing. We have on the right wing, we have Callum McManaman, people. Callum McManaman. David Moyes' last season, we lost 3-0 in a quarter-final to Wigan, and McManaman tore us apart. Let's move on. My central attacking midfielder is Kieran Dowell, the man himself. He was playing for Forest in the last match I saw live. He's an Everton loanee. He has to be in there. On the left wing, we have Chris Brunt. This is one for you, Charlie, because once I sat in the Everton stand, after Dad gave me his season ticket, I went by myself to this match. Everton-West Brom, easy win. 90 minutes later, it was 4-1 to West Brom, and I had to wait for the final whistle because I needed a train to get home. And then finally, my striker is Michael Owen because he scored a hat-trick in my first ever Merseyside derby, not for us. So that is my least favourite 11 I've ever made. It's not going to win anything, but I had, I would say fun. It was entertaining.
Right, it's not going to win anything.
Told you you'd like it.
Pretty amazing. I'm speechless.
It's the worst 11 anyone's come up with, and I'm proud of it.
You know what? It would probably just destroy everyone that it came up against. Just like take them out the whole time. So draw. It would be boring as anything.
You've got Thiago Silva, Lee Cattermole, Mile Jedinak. If one of them doesn't get sent off, then they're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know. No one can follow that.
Well, three of us have to.
Want to give it a go?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. My team is incredibly top heavy, to the point where I am playing
it's like his women.
Sorry. Wow. Of all people to come out with that joke, it had to be you. Yeah, I'm playing a 4-1-4-1 formation. So,
okay.
in goal, Igor Akinfeev. Hasn't kept a clean sheet for CSK Moscow in 37 years. However, I saw him play for the Russian national team, and he was all right in that. So Igor Akinfeev is my goalkeeper. Back four, and I'll go through the logic once I've told you. I've got Maya Yoshida, Yanda Vestergaard, Steve Staunton, and Diego Godin. Now, one of those comes from the first match I ever saw. Well, again, Josh kind of let me have the loophole because my first game was actually Tamworth, and I'm not putting the non-league player in this team. So my first league game was Coventry against West Bromwich Albion, and I've actually looked at the squad sheet from that day. And
Diego Godin played.
Diego Godin on the bench for Coventry City. No, Steve Staunton was on the pitch for the Sky Blues that day. So he goes in there. Vestergaard, Martin and I got a little bit drunk in Germany and saw him play in the heart of a very good Mönchengladbach defence. Maya Yoshida, I saw play for Japan, the national team. They weren't wearing this shirt at the time. I could have had him in the Japan-Colombia game or the Japan-Mongolia game I went to. And I think in the Mongolia game, he actually scored. So I might give it that one. And Diego Godin, Josh's best birthday present ever. Brighton and Hove Albion against Atletico Madrid, where we managed to get to the turnstiles to get in before Josh realised that we actually had tickets the whole time. And I had a bet on with, I think it was Martin, where I said, I bet you I can get him right to the very front of this before he realises that we're actually going through.
You did as well.
I did as well. Mainly because I didn't tell him that there was a game on until we went back, because we went from where he was living at the time through into Brighton itself. And you go through Farmer train station, and it was only when he actually saw that there were people there and there was a game on that he realised. And then I just kind of passed it off, because as soon as he saw it was Atletico Madrid, I went, yeah, we're never going to get a ticket for that. We sold out by now. Not telling him I had the tickets in my bag.
The way you thought it was, we got off on the train to see if we could get a ticket.
Well, you were really excited about it. So I said, well, we're going back that way anyway. We might as well get off and see what happens. And yeah, we just kind of carried on walking. And I said, there you go, Josh, here's your ticket. I was like, what?
Yeah, no, that was a good afternoon, and we did see Diego Godin. I've included a player from that match as well, which we'll come to in a minute. But what's your midfield, Charlie?
My holding midfielder is Andres Iniesta, and I kind of had to include him after you gave me the loophole on that one. I did see him play for Barcelona against Spartak, but that's not the game I've taken him from. That was my most recent game, which was Vissel Kobe against Yokohama FC, which was only 4 months ago, but feels like an absolute lifetime ago. With everything that's happened. I think, in fact, based on my travel plans at the time, I think that's the last match I could have gone to as well. So, yeah, that's he sits sort of holding that defence and attacking four together, which I have to remember how I've written this down. So I've got Leandro Damião, Takefusa Kubo, Gonzalo Guedes, and Lionel Messi. Have that for a sort of front four.
McManaman, Dalbrun.
So Leandro Damião now plays for Kawasaki Frontale in Japan. And I saw him play in the Champions League game against Sydney. I could have actually, from that game, also chosen Adam Lafondra, but I think I'm fine with the choice I made. The one name you may not have heard, especially if you're not a fan of Spanish football, Takefusa Kubo. Young Japanese midfielder. He's 19 years old, but he has already been on the books of Barcelona and Real Madrid. Now, I should kind of tell you everything, but he is a fantastic midfielder. He's just got energy and just runs and just puts balls in fantastic positions. He's on loan at Mallorca this season, so he's out there getting some experience, but he is going to be absolutely fantastic in about 5 years' time. So I'm sort of calling it now, remember the name. Martin, opinions on Gonzalo Guedes?
Amazing.
There you go. Was it Yep, there we are. The Valencia Espanyol game. I almost went for Kondogbia, actually.
Oh, I love Kondogbia.
Yeah, I kind of couldn't decide between which player I wanted.
That was my choice for that game.
Yeah, I couldn't decide, but then I thought actually the chance of playing a 4-1-4-1, I kind of want that. And I don't really have to explain Lionel Messi to anyone, really, do I, at this point?
Who's Messi?
Yeah, who? Spartak Moscow against Barcelona, and he just ran the show like you would expect him to do.
Yeah. He did well when La Liga resumed as well.
He's doing all right, isn't he?
Yeah,
he might be a name to watch for the future. My striker, Jurgen Locadia. Martin and I saw PSV against FC Twente in the Netherlands, and he said in the Holland, and again up front for PSV.
A point of order. I listened to your interview the other week, and you were telling me about the time you saw Ronaldo live.
Yes.
He's not made it in.
He didn't, because in that game, and I've based it on how they played when I saw them, and he did not have a good game at all against Russia. Throwing himself around, holding the play up, being as petulant as Ronaldo was in 2012, and I just didn't. And also, I'd already kind of picked a Russian national team player, so I was kind of, it was my interpretation of the rules. And like for the same point, I've only had Samuel Eto'o up front because he played for Angie when I saw them play against Spartak. So I've seen Eto'o play as well. So I could have had him, but I
mean, the list of players that we could have had it's longer than my arm itself, which is, to be fair, not very long. But
so yeah, I just decided to play it safe and have Locadia up front, because if he's got that strong of a four behind him, there's going to be a goal in there somewhere.
Nice.
Your move.
My move. Oh, fun.
Go on.
So I'm going against everything I believe in. I love my 4-2-3-1s, but I just couldn't find a way to do this. So I've got a 4-4-2 actually, and I've got a diamond in the field. See how it works. In goal, I've got Paul Lopez. Does everyone know who Paul Lopez is?
No.
No. So he was playing for Espanyol when we saw Valencia against Espanyol. He's now at AS Roma.
Okay.
So Paul Lopez, had to get him in there.
You haven't gone for Guedes?
I've seen 2 Valencia games actually.
Oh, fair enough. Okay.
And I still haven't gone for Guedes. No, because you can see what my front three is absolutely unreal. So there's no room for Guedes. Right back, I have Santiago Arias, who's now at Atletico Madrid, but he was playing for PSV the day that me and Charlie saw him.
He missed a sitter against Bilbao at the weekend.
Yeah, he's rubbish.
Sorry. I had to get a player in for my last game, which was not the most memorable. I mean, Forest got taken apart by Millwall 3-0, so it was very difficult to pick any player. But I've gone for Tobias Figueiredo as a kind of throwaway player that I just needed to get in. I mean, I couldn't think of anyone that I wanted to include, so Figueiredo gets in. The other one, I've got a centre-back from the Mönchengladbach game that Charlie and I saw, but it is not Vestergaard. It's actually Matthias Ginter. Who still plays for Gladbach actually and is doing very well.
Actually, at that point, Martin, can I ask you if your thought process was the same to me and how close you were to putting Jan Sommer in goal?
I was very close, but I looked at the Valencia Espanyol game and I couldn't think of a centre-back that I wanted. So yeah, Jan Sommer is a fantastic keeper. He's the only goalkeeper in the Bundesliga who has a better save percentage than Manuel Neuer this year.
Yeah, but he also gave away a really bad goal for Gladbach the other day.
Yeah, the other day. But
watching Sommer, it's actually his passing range that impresses me. I mean, he could be a midfielder.
He could. He really is superb. Okay, left back. I've got a Valencia player, and I think Josh knows who's coming here. He's probably my favourite left back in the entire world.
Is it Jose Luis Gaia?
Gaia is just something else. He's not the best defensively, but getting forward, his crosses are just pinpoint. They are absolutely amazing. So I've got Jose Gaia. Holding midfield, another one from our trip to Spain. It was the Levante game against Las Palmas. He now plays in the league, of course. Jefferson Lerma, absolute beast of a player. Really enjoyed.
I thought we really fancied ourselves as talent scouts, don't we? Because I'd never heard of this guy, and yet within a few minutes we were all saying he's the best player on the pitch, and within a few months he'd got a big money move to the Premier League.
I know he was playing for Colombia at the World Cup as well, wasn't he? So a really good player, Jefferson Lerma. Just in front of him, I've got 2 players who are both currently playing in the Premier League as well. The first is Ruben Neves, who I saw play against Forest and absolutely rip Forest to pieces, at least in the game at the City ground. The other one is another painful memory from Forest, a 5-0 defeat at the Emirates earlier this season. I've gone for Dani Ceballos.
Yes.
He was superb, actually. He only played 25 minutes, but he was brilliant.
I was at that game and concur. It's amazing, actually, how much of an upgrade he was on Ozil.
Yeah, he was brilliant. Now I have the attacking midfielder, comes from the Brighton game, the Brighton Atletico game, and that guy is Antoine Griezmann. There wasn't a choice.
That's fair.
There. And now my front two are probably two of the best strikers at their time in the game. So the first one is from my first game ever, which was Manchester United 5, Newcastle 3. This guy scored a hat-trick. Is the one, the only, Ruud van Nistelrooy. Unbelievable player. And my other one comes from my time in Germany when I was living there, 2013. I went to see one Frankfurt game. Luckily enough for this challenge, it was against Dortmund. So up front, I have Robert Lewandowski.
Yeah.
Wow.
Fair play.
My front three, yeah, I love my front three. The rest of the team I could take or leave, but that front three is...
That strike partnership, all I've got a vision of is Lewandowski running to get the ball and Van Nistelrooy goal hanging, just poaching any rebounds.
Yeah, absolutely.
Funny enough, Van Nistelrooy nearly made my team. It was between him and Owen. But because I once saw United beat Everton 4-3. It was 3-0 to United at half-time. We pulled it back to 3-3. Then Van Nistelrooy scored the winner with literally seconds to go. The reason I didn't was because I actually remember that game quite fondly, because it was the first time I've seen us be 3-0 down at half-time and actually fight back. Even though we lost, it's still it's not a sad memory at all.
I'm curious as to who Josh has gone for then.
Yeah, well, I think that's a fantastic strike partnership. I mean, we talk about, 40-goal a season strike partnerships. That'd be getting at least 60 between them. I think mine's pretty good as well. I'll get it up on my phone, but I can't remember who I went for in goal.
Very prepared. It's not like he's had all three of us to talk about this first.
So
okay,
you camp in goal.
Okay, in goal, I've gone for Joe Hart.
Expecting Carl Darlow.
No, Hart, I think, played for Birmingham against Forest in the FA Cup. He was very good. I've gone for like a 4-4-2 here. Right back is Coleman. I've seen Coleman a couple of times, and both times he's ran the game from right back. We had to be him. My fullbacks are so attacking because I had to try and fit Gareth Bale into the team somewhere. I saw him for Tottenham against Inter Milan. So I've gone for Bale at left back. He was a left back when he was linked with a move to Forest. So we're going to go with that. I mean, Coleman and Bale.
Coleman and Bale.
Fullback. This is going to be just a wonderfully attacking team. At centre-back, I've decided to comply with my own rules to get the first and last out of the way. So I've gone for a rather unique centre-back pairing of Lucas Radebe, who played in my first game for Leeds against Forest, and Aaron Martin to add a bit of lower league muscle, who played for Exeter against Crewe in the last game.
And I suppose if you've got the two attacking left-backs, you do need two trees at the back to provide some defensive cover.
I do worry about a defence of Coleman and Bale and then Radebe and Martin against Lewandowski and Van Nistelrooy.
You know where
just
the pace
going to put that out there.
I've very much gone for the you score 10, I'll score 11 approach.
Okay, all right, Bobby.
Going forward, I think they might score 11. So in addition to that I already mentioned, in addition to those, on the right wing, I have David Beckham.
Oh, here we
I
go.
saw the United treble-winning side in the 98-99 season when they beat Forest 8-1. Solskjaer scored 4 goals in that game, but Beckham stood out for me. His passing range was just fantastic. So,
Hold on, just to rub it in a second. Solskjaer scored 4 off the bench in the last 12 minutes of the game.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
That's why he doesn't get in there. He only played for 12 minutes.
He played for 12 minutes.
Well, when I get to my strikers, you'll see there's not a lot of room for Solskjaer, but there is room for Beckham.
He's on the bench, though.
Yeah. I'm surprised I'm the only one to have gone for Kondogbia. He was just fantastic the game we went to out in Spain, so he had to make it in. I've also gone for Iniesta from when I saw England beat Spain in a friendly. Iniesta was obviously not much more needs to be said. On the left, I've gone for Griezmann from the Brighton game that we mentioned, and I can sort of imagine Griezmann floating in so Bale can cut forward from left back. I'm not imagining he'll be doing too much defending. Up front, I've gone for Robin van Persie from when I went to watch Den Haag Feyenoord fairly recently. So I've seen him play. And I also have been to see Chelsea. I think it was against Maribor. It was some team in the Champions League. And Drogba played. So I've got a strike force of Van Persie and Drogba.
It's an incredibly solid front six. You've got a bit of a habit of this now. You start slowly, but your front half of your team has just been fantastic week on week.
You say start slowly, but Gareth Bale and Seamus Coleman, come on.
No, but Gareth Bale is a left. Oh, we're talking Seamus Coleman. I thought he was talking about Chris Coleman. Sorry. But no, I mean, like, you don't remember Gareth Bale as a left back though.
No, yeah.
I know he has.
What era you saw him as? I probably saw him as a left back. In all fairness, I probably did see him go to Goodison and see him play as a left back, but that was when he was losing every match.
But no, I mean it's. I accept that it's not the most solid defence in the world, but there's a lot of firepower going forward.
Definitely.
Right, nice one. We'll put them on the Twitter again. There was no winner last week. We all drew. I couldn't be bothered to run it again.
Funny how that.
I figured we'll just give it as a draw. We all won.
Lovely.
So, Gareth, do you want to do the quiz?
Excellent. Yes, here we go. So we are second week of our 3-week head-to-head challenge. Last week, Martin beat Josh 5-4 in a 15-point quiz. That was how high the standard was there. But we move on. And to be honest, Martin, I think you're going to be pretty glad to be sitting this one out.
Oh, good.
This is quite tough. I've been trying to tailor it a bit to both Josh and Charlie's strengths, so we'll see how this goes. Same rules apply. A bit about us, a bit about our clubs. I've also thrown in a couple of questions that aren't, so let's test your general knowledge. Charlie, do you have a buzzer?
Wallpaper.
Yes. Josh, are you sticking with buzz?
Buzz.
So if you hear the words buzz or wallpaper, that's who's answered this question. Without further ado, I'm going to get this started. In a charity football match between celebrities and ex-players of England and Germany, what did our current supreme leader infamously do?
Buzz.
Wallpaper.
Josh was there first.
He spear-gored one of the German players in a attempt at a rugby tackle.
Absolutely right. Bonus point for everyone here. I'll include Martin. Who was it?
Oh, God.
Wallpaper.
Go on, Charlie.
Absolutely no idea, so I'm guessing. Was it Stefan Kuntz?
It was not.
Damn. Oh, no, this is going to get demonetised now I've said that.
Are you going to guess, Josh?
Sorry?
Are you going to guess or not?
I have no idea who it is.
I seem to have memories of Mario Basler for some reason, but I didn't.
You're all wrong. It was Maurizio Godino.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know.
Not knowing that.
The original question was, who did he rugby tackle? I thought that was too mean. Yeah. So I thought I'd give you a fighting chance. Right, here we go. Question 2. Go for it.
Charlie, do you want to reconsider and go for a shorter word?
No. This is mastermind. Started so.
By the time you say wall, Josh can say buzz. And
yeah, but if I've started first.
I will. If Charlie started first, I will.
It's a good job.
I'll be fair in that way.
He is right, though. It's a good job I didn't choose supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, isn't it?
I mean, it's impressive you said it once. I'd like to see you try and say it quicker than Josh can say.
There's no alcohol in that drink bottle.
That's what he tells us. Question 2. Who plays their home matches at Moss Lane?
Wallpaper.
That was Charlie.
I can't remember. How long have I got to think about this all of a sudden?
I mean, I know.
Josh said buzz, so I'm not going to give you long.
I'll hand it over. I don't know.
Macclesfield.
Incorrect. Charlie, what would you have said?
Yeah. I don't know.
Can I guess?
Go for it, Martin.
It is Macclesfield, isn't it?
I've got one of Rochdale or Altrincham. I'm not sure.
It is Altrincham. It's Altrincham.
Macclesfield's Moss Rose.
Moss Rose is Macclesfield, isn't it?
Moss Lane. Moss Lane.
Okay.
Unlucky, Josh, but that's no points for anyone. Although, you know, we might, if it's a draw after a third week, Martin might well win it because he actually gave the answer right there.
He gave the right answer.
So we'll bear that in mind. Okay, question number 3. This one's a doozy. How many West Brom fans travelled to Exeter for their 2-0 win in the third round of the 2018 FA Cup? Charlie.
Does this include me?
Oh, were you there that day?
I was there, but I was in the home end, so
it was the official away attendance.
Are you looking for an exact number, or is it closest number wins?
Closest number wins.
603.
Okay, Josh.
It's going to be less than that because that's when 2 sides of the ground were closed off, so there wouldn't have been much capacity. I'm going to go with 300.
Josh is right. It's 363. Josh is running away with this a little bit, Charlie. Got to up your game here.
Plenty of time.
How well do you know your Everton FA Cup wins? Which of these is the most recent? Was it A, Everton 2, Watford 0, B, Everton 3, Sheffield Wednesday 2, C, Everton 1, Newcastle United 0, or D, Everton 3, Manchester City 0?
Wallpaper.
Charlie?
Was it the Newcastle game?
Josh?
I would have gone for the Watford game.
Josh is right. The Newcastle game was in 1906. So it definitely wasn't. You might be thinking of Manchester United in 95.
Maybe.
Yeah, anyway. I thought I wouldn't include the Manchester one. Right, okay, here we go. Name the 3, and I'm looking for all 3 here. Name the 3 Everton players who kick-started my love for Sweden.
Buzz.
Wallpaper.
Josh was first. Can he get all 3?
Okay. Nicholas Alexanderson, Tobias Linderoth. I need to think of... You said Everton players. Have to be Everton players.
Yep.
I have it.
Well, Marcus Allback?
Incorrect. Charlie.
I'd only got those 2 as well. The only players I can think of definitely are not Swedish. I want to say Anders Svensson, but he played for Southampton. He didn't play for Everton.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah, it has to be because I can't think of anyone else.
Martin, who have you got?
He might not be Swedish.
Go for
That's
it.
a good start.
Is it Alex Nyarko?
It's not. He was Ghanaian.
Oh.
The correct answer was Jesper Blomqvist.
Oh, God, yeah.
But you guys, he was the first Swede that I remember being at Everton. Not the most memorable, but he was the first. So there we go. Okay, great. Great start. Charlie, you're losing 3-0 at the moment.
I know.
Which then Everton striker scored twice in a 6-1 victory the first time I saw England live?
Well, Buzz.
Josh.
Was it Andy Johnson?
It wasn't Andy Johnson. Charlie.
What did you say the score was? 6?
6-1.
I did England won 6-1. And you're not going to give us any kind of clue here.
Then Everton striker.
Yeah, I know, but any more of a clue than that?
If I give you a clue, I would have to give it back to Josh to have a go at. And I think, yeah.
Wayne Rooney.
It's right. It was Wayne Rooney.
I would take that. What was the game?
England-Iceland, Euro 2004 warm-up.
Right.
I couldn't possibly give that away because it would give the answer away. So there we go. Right, which of these sides have I not seen us beaten on my birthday? So you have to remember when my birthday is,
okay.
and you have to work out.
Everton matches, are they?
These are Everton matches, yeah, and you have to work out when I went. I'm not talking about watching TV. I was there for 2 of these. I was there for 2 of these. I wasn't for one of them. Was it A, Derby County, B, Arsenal, or C, Fulham?
Buzz.
Josh, sorry, not Martin. Josh.
Derby.
Charlie?
Arsenal.
You're both wrong. It was the Fulham match. I didn't
Is that
see the
because you
Fulham
went
match.
is that because you went to Everton Fulham with me?
I have been to see Everton Fulham more times than I care to admit. The Fulham match was on a Friday night, Yeah, that was the other two were on Saturdays, so I was actually able to go to them. But we'll move on. That was a bit of a mean one. So we're moving on to Martin here. So let's see how well you guys know a little bit about Martin. Who scored the winner in Martin's first ever Forest match?
Wallpaper.
Charlie?
Robert Earnshaw.
Josh?
Really had a bowler.
Martin, who is it?
Lewis McGugan.
Lewis McGugan.
God.
Forest
So-
won 3-0.
So that's a great start to this. This one's horrible, I'd admit. Who was the referee in charge of the match Martin mentioned earlier? United 5, Newcastle 3. I'll give you multiple choice. Was it A, Andy D'Urso, B, Graham Poll, C, Steve Dunn, or D, Eddie Wolstenholme?
Wallpaper.
Charlie?
Graham Poll.
Josh?
Andy D'Urso.
Oh, it was Steve Dunn. How did you guys not know that?
Yeah, how did we not know that?
I was trying to pick a question for that, and I didn't know what Martin would give for that game, so I had to go with like the most obscure thing I could think of. And finally, if you've been paying attention to Martin in this podcast, you might well get this. What is the missing country on this list, and what link between them am I looking for? The list is England, France, Germany, blank, Spain. So
Wallpaper.
country, Charlie.
Holland or the Netherlands. And,
the
that is the link is the countries in order of which he's seen a football game in.
We'll accept that as an answer. Well done, Charlie. It's now 3-2. Josh's knowledge of me and Martin has been lacking, to say the least. So we're going to move on to our blog. How well do you remember our blog? In which setting did Charlie first fall foul of spoilers? If you want a clue, this is from a love letter to the 2002 World Cup.
Oh, Wallpaper.
Charlie?
Yes, my school headmaster blurting out the score of the France-Senegal game. And I was waiting to go home to watch it.
That is absolutely right. Although I asked for the setting, not the person.
School assembly.
That's all right. We'll have that as an answer. What is the official attendance, as told by Josh in his football guilty pleasures, of the new lawn?
Buzz.
Josh?
It's around 5,000.
Okay, around 5,000. Charlie, do you want to take a stab at his closest wins?
7,301.
Yeah, it would have been mean if Josh didn't get that. 5,141. That's a pretty good memory from Josh there. Yeah, he did. What was the word that you described it as, Josh?
Wallpaper.
Go on, Charlie.
Crap.
The actual word was generous, but there we go.
No.
Well, okay. This is a bit of a retro one. Got a couple of retro ones here from 2013. Who is the subject of the article "Video Killed the Football Star: The Superstar Paradigm"?
Buzz.
Josh.
Now I've forgotten it. Video killed it. Neymar.
He's right. Well done, Josh.
Oh.
That's a good memory, that. Okay. What links Michael Appleton, Guy Moussi, and Billy Davis?
They've all been the subject of the Curious Case of article.
That's right.
We were so bad at writing back in those days.
We were. It was amazing. Right, Charlie, you've got no hope of winning, but you might beat Martin next week, so you still need this. This is my favourite question I've ever come up with. Fill in the blanks from Martin's "But It's Only Football, Isn't It" article. Are we ready for this?
No.
I will accept the right answers. I will also accept the funniest. So bear that in mind. Football blanks me. The beautiful game makes me want to blank.
Wallpaper.
Charlie.
Football loves me. It makes me want to groan.
Josh.
Football hates me. It makes me want to vomit.
I mean, obviously you're both wrong. I think Charlie's gets the point, but can Martin tell us the actual quote?
No.
Football blanks me. The beautiful game makes me want to blank.
Oh my god.
I mean, is it perfectly acceptable that Martin might have written football blanks me?
Yeah, that could have been one of them. I didn't say.
Football makes me want to. I have no idea.
Well, unbelievably for Martin, that quote is, "Football transforms me. The beautiful game makes me want to exercise." Words we never thought he'd say.
Should be fair.
So that was Charlie versus Josh. Josh has redeemed himself. He has won 6-4. So Josh has come away with 1 head-to-head point. So he's still in contention if Charlie beats Martin. He has also got 10 mini points, so to speak. So if it is a 1-1 draw, Charlie, you need 6 or more. Well, you need 7 really in the final one, and Martin, you need 6.
Goal difference. I think I've got a positive goal difference now.
Yeah, you have. You've got a goal difference of +2, so you're doing all right there. So next week we've got Charlie versus Martin. If Charlie wins, this is going to be. I'm going to have to work out how to decide who wins this. Martin, I'm going to tailor this all for you, so you win this. No, I'm joking. We'll see who wins.
Right.
In order to curry favour with the Quizmaster, is it the PlayStation 5 with the disc drive or the digital-only version?
I like my discs. If you've seen my collection of CD-ROMs, you will know that I like my discs. For the record there, I did, as a joke,
discs.
as a joke, I told Charlie that if he wanted the answers to the quiz, he'd have to pre-order me a PS5. That offer's still on the table for anyone. So
yeah, you wouldn't turn it down if I did.
I would not turn it down. I would have given you them in a heartbeat. I would have offered the same thing to Josh, though. And if he'd matched it, then you'd have been in trouble. But I would have had 2 PS5s, so I don't know what I'd done with that. But,
okay.
The offer's still on the table, Charlie and Martin.
Okay. No,
and Josh, to be fair. If Josh wants to buy me a PS5, next quiz, he can have the answers.
Sounds good. Why not?
All I know is I'm going to have my revenge when it's my turn to come up with the quiz again in a couple of weeks.
World Cup 2002.
I'm hosting next week, aren't I? I've got a squad builder challenge if you want it.
Yes.
Go for it.
So it's going to sound very easy. I want you to come up with your best 11 to never have played in the Premier League. Okay?
All time.
There's a catch. Their surnames cannot contain either the letter A or the letter E.
So no Messi then?
No, any surname that has an E or an A in.
Did you think of this while eating your alphabetic spaghetti at dinner time?
They were the ones left on the plate.
Yeah.
And there's no limit on time constraint. They can be from whatever period.
I think we should do from when we remember, so maybe from 2000 onwards again.
Okay.
Damn it! That I was just going to pick the 1906 Everton Newcastle final.
Okay. Yeah. So never have played in the Premier League. No A or E in this surname.
Okay.
I'm gonna do an interesting little trivia game at the start next week. I'm gonna send you all a Facebook message, and you will have to do a little bit more work.
Ah.
Quiz. It'll only take you 5 or 10 minutes. It's fine.
Okay.
All right. Okay. We don't like work here.
Yeah.
We only sing when we're not working.
We only work when we're not winning. More like.
Yeah. True. You can tell he's a lecturer, though, can't you? He's literally giving us homework.
Yeah. What more would you expect? What less would you expect?
Whenever you're ready, host, to wrap this up.
Well, thank you very much, and well done to anyone that's made it this far. We will see you again next week, where we will be doing the Squad Builder Challenge that Martin has just laid out for us. In the meantime, have a good week and take care.
Bye.
See you later, losers.